communication skills are critical to being effective in a position, in a job, in a career.
Okay, welcome back to the Marketing Playbook, presented by Details Interactive. Here you'll take away 3 game-winning marketing plays every episode to take back to your team. I'm your host, Mark Friedman, and my career has been focused on direct-to-consumer marketing, direct mail, physical retail, and digital commerce. This is episode number 76, and today's guest is Amy Carr. Amy is the Chief Digital and Marketing Officer at lingerie brand ThirdLove. She's an accomplished marketer, having spent time with major brands such as The Gap and Sephora, and she's also a founder of beauty brand PYT Beauty. She offers up some interesting thoughts about direct mail, back to the office, and how networking has kept her informed of the newest challenges and tactics in marketing. Before we get started, a quick thank you, as always, to Max Brandstetter of the Wow Business Growth Podcast for producing this episode. You can reach him at max@maxpodcasting.com to help bring your podcast to life. Let's open the playbook. Ready, break. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Marketing Playbook podcast. Today, I'm joined by Amy Carr. Amy has been in retail for over 20 years, focusing on marketing, digital, and CRM, and being part of the rise of e-commerce. She's currently the Chief Marketing and Digital Officer of ThirdLove, and prior to that, she spent 5 years building her own company as founder of PYT Beauty, bringing clean beauty to the middle market. Before founding PYT Beauty, Amy spent 13 years in retail at Gap Inc., where she assumed many roles, including strategy, finance, consumer insights, e-commerce, and direct marketing. She did it all. Amy then joined Sephora with a focus on CRM and personalized marketing, consumer insights, and analytics. It was there that she gained a deep understanding of how customers think and what drives their purchase decisions. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, and it's good to catch up. We're going to get started in the show, much like we get started in a lot of these shows. We ask the guest to speak a little bit about themselves, kind of the first story, where they were brought up. Maybe a little bit about your family, and usually, as people are probably bored hearing me say after 75 shows or so, oftentimes, so many times, the guests early, part of their life was somewhat predictive and foreshadowed what they would do in their career. So let's see if that's the case for you.
My upbringing influenced my future life in some ways, in that my dad was a conservationist and a longtime conservationist here in the Bay Area and then on a national level. And he really instilled in my sisters and me the importance of taking care of our earth, about the land, public lands, keeping farmland so we can feed the country. And really that flowed forward many years later as I launched a clean, sustainable beauty company, really focused on, we don't want to put chemicals on our face or into our waterway system when we wash them off our face. I think that was part of my upbringing and something that influenced how I brought this company to life. From a marketing standpoint, I can't pinpoint one thing in my upbringing, but, I was always a very extroverted, former cheerleader, rah-rah. So that just kind of lends to, I think, more of the marketing personality that you need to be successful as a marketer.
Okay, well, we won't ask you to do any cheers as part of the show. Okay, well, that's really interesting, and we'll come back to the company that you started, PYT. One of the things that I saw that was interesting. We both got our start at Big 8 accounting firms. I was an auditor for what was Touche Ross in those days, and you spent some time doing that. How did you get into Big 8 accounting?
Yeah, by the time I got into it, it was down to 6. By the time I left, it was down to 4. I kind of just fell into it. I've always been a math geek at heart, and accounting was very interesting in that it was very finite. I knew there was only one answer. It always balanced. I like that finality of it. My degrees are both yin and yang. They are in finance, but they're also in marketing and entrepreneurship. And so I kind of like the balance of the right brain, left brain. when I was in college, they were recruiting, and I ended up interviewing for a whole bunch of jobs. And the person who interviewed me from Arthur Andersen, I just liked. I clicked with him, and I really thought, okay, I don't see myself at a desk job, but if I'm working for this person, I would have a lot of fun. And I did. And I think those accounting firms do a great job of bringing 100 people together and creating community and really giving you a lot of business experience early on. So it was a great launching pad for me.
Yeah, and for me, it was very similar. I met my wife there. She was a year behind me, but you talk about this group of lots of young people coming together right out of college, and it was very social for us. And but I did realize after a while, I was on the auditing side, and like you. I liked the finality of the debits and the credits, but in auditing, there wasn't that same finality. It was, I don't know, it just didn't strike it for me. So, but then you spent some time on the consulting side. Talk about that a bit.
I don't want to say I got bored, but there was too much repetitiveness. And so I jumped ship and went to the consulting side for the last year and a half of my 5-year stint at Arthur Andersen, which was really interesting in the business operations side. So we were doing a lot of process mapping, operations, understanding how to do change management in an organization, things I'd never seen. So it was great. It was at an interesting time when I too met my husband at Arthur Andersen. My husband ended up going to business school, so we were going to move, and I just decided, well, I should go to business school too, and so I did. And I left accounting. I left Arthur Andersen Consulting at that time, and went to business school for 2 years and took a different path.
And an extended period of time with a big company, The Gap. It seems like you've got a lot of different experiences there. Talk about your experience there. Maybe the obviously it was focused on CRM and strategy, and I think when you were there and in the mid 2000s, 2005 or 6, that seems kind of early for brands to be talking about CRM and the strategy associated with it. Is that just my perception, or was it really early?
No, we were really early. I mean, we were doing things, I can still remember the company selling us the concept of retargeting. This was a new idea, and we jumped on board because we couldn't believe you could find someone and then follow them around the internet, showing them the Gap jeans over and over and over again. We were one of the first players in that market space. But when I came in, really it was around direct mail and email. SMS hadn't even been really a thing yet. And it was around how do we tie data together, and mind blowing that we could email and direct mail the same person and then look at it together in that data set. I had incredible leadership, and I think Gap as a whole has done this. They just had incredible leaders, real visionaries in the space, in the retail space. So it was, for me, I just kept learning. They kept giving me new things to do. They kept expanding my role or shifting me to something else and so as I was learning so much, it was like drinking from a fire hose for 10 years straight.
And there's a lot of that happens, especially when you're involved in something, like the web and CRM, that's new. You don't have any bad habits yet because you haven't had any habits yet. You mentioned, direct mail and well, maybe in catalog. Direct mail is or catalog has kind of had, a resurgence over these last 5 to 10 years or 7 years, these digitally native brands that have, moved back to using paper. So, think back to your days at the Gap and now with where you are at ThirdLove, and we'll get that in more detail. But how does direct mail in your mind play a role for a retailer?
Well, you have to touch it to throw it away. So right away, I think it's a great media. It's not select all, delete, and 50 emails go out the door into the trash bin. There is this, I call it the 3-second arc to the trash while and so you have a chance to catch her eye, she will actually see it. We do some direct mail. We're testing around, but it is clearly evolved. Whereas we used to just buy lists back in the Gap Inc. days and try and track them and, see if we could match their spend back to when they came in and have a coupon code. Today, I can find people that have been sitting on the site, and I can send them a direct mail piece targeted to exactly what they were looking for. And, so the data behind it has gotten so much more scientific, but for sure we use it at ThirdLove. It's been a very successful media for us in conjunction with all the other digital things that you have to be doing.
Yeah. And, I always steer away from what I call the A word of attribution, because nobody ever wants to talk about attribution. But
I get it. Yes.
let's not get too deep into it. But think about you have a marketing budget and you're trying to develop the media mix. How do you think about where you divide up your dollars to spend? And it could be at ThirdLove, it could be at any of the businesses that you've had responsibility for.
It's tricky because attribution got pretty good for a while, and then now it's getting harder as people do things like clear cookies and set up privacy walls. And I think, knowing exactly what's working is really, really hard in today's market. For us, the way, and I'll talk mostly about ThirdLove because at PYT we had a tiny marketing budget. We do our best to do attribution, and I'd say we do a pretty good job of that. We really look at kind of what has been working. We try to stay on the forefront of new and interesting technologies. We talk to other non-competitive companies all the time to find out what they think is working. And then, it's a little bit of test and learn. We can see pushing a product in one channel. Did that work? Go back to our product data. But it's a lot of stitching that together on the back end to really understand what's working and what's not working. And it's a little bit of gut. It's a mix of gut and science right now.
Well, it's the both sides of the brain, right? You talked about the accounting side and the creative side or the marketing side. We'll come back to PYT, but let's keep going with ThirdLove. We didn't really, address for those that don't know ThirdLove, what kind of a business is it?
We are an intimates apparel business, and we sell mostly bras and underwear. Our positioning and our competitive advantage is really that we've created these incredibly comfortable fitting bras. And, as a woman, when you are comfortable, everything else gets better, because when you're not comfortable, you're just annoyed. And, so we've really created these bras that like fit really well, are so comfortable, and are very supportive so that you can go out on the rest of your day and not have to worry about that.
It's funny. I didn't know you. You didn't know me, and I'm forgetting now because it's been a few months. I forget exactly what came first. Either I saw you on LinkedIn, or my wife and I were in Florida, and you guys had just opened a new store in the
In
Boca
Boca.
Town Center, right? And we were walking. I think it's right outside Nordstrom, and we were walking by, and I see this ThirdLove business, and I might have seen you on LinkedIn. I was like, all right, Debbie, you need to go in and check this store out. I want to see it too, because this woman Amy, I've met her and I see she's just gone to this company. Anyway, long story short, she bought a number of things and is now a
Great.
super fan of your product. So see how
And
the
she's
marketing
telling her
helps.
friends. She's telling her
Absolutely.
friends.
Absolutely. Let's, stay in ThirdLove. You talked about this is an interesting thing because not a lot of businesses do this. They don't seem to make the time. You talk to non-competitive brands, you're saying, to see what they're doing. What kind of things are you interested in learning?
Just to see if they've heard of new technologies that do X better, maybe, or an agency they're loving working with that's really crushing it, or what different media models they're running and having success with. And then some of it's around like organization and people and how are you organized for success. And coming out of COVID, where I've got like everyone all over the country, how do I, create culture and a team that can trust and rely on each other? So, you know, sometimes it's like the conversation with, another founder friend at my daughter's gymnastics meet. And sometimes it's deliberate. Does anyone know someone here? Because I think they're killing it in the market. And can we get a call with them? So, and Heidi, who's our co-founder here at ThirdLove, does a lot of that too. And it's just good. I mean, we're all in this together.
Absolutely. I've always been a big networker, and people. I was just talking to a fellow that I had met 10 years ago. I don't even remember how we were introduced. He called me out of the blue. He wanted me to do some mentoring for an early stage company because he knew that I do a bunch of that. And I try to, as I'm mentoring early stage companies and people that are early in their career, there's never enough networking, in my opinion, that you could be
Never
doing.
enough. I agree. I've created a web of people that I can trust and rely on, and it's invaluable.
You mentioned culture and all, coming out of COVID. How are you dealing with, the fact that you may have people all over the country? Are you ultimately planning to bring them back to an office, or are you continuing on, with a remote workforce?
If I had my way, everyone would work in one office and you'd be in the office 3 days a week. I think some people are really enjoying this work from home thing. And I think some people want an office. And so we have to do this happy blend. But for me, being in the office, sitting side by side, you get work done faster and more efficiently, and it's better quality, particularly in marketing, where it's a very creative and we're making changes on the fly. As we talk right now, Mark, I have a team moving into temporary office space down in LA. They have been, texting me and, who wants this cube and who wants to go here? We will have two marketing creative digital offices, one in LA, one in San Francisco. I'd say about 75% of the team will be in one of those two markets, which is great. And then, hoping at some point to get everyone 100%. But we do have some very key quality people that are not in those markets, and for reasons they can't move to those markets. So we will continue to support them remotely. But I do think they're missing. They're going to miss out on some of the side conversations, the hallway talk, the stuff that you and I know early on in our career is really important. You catch the CEO in the bathroom, or, you're grabbing lunch and, she or he mentioned something about something you did that they really liked, and we're just missing that today. And I feel for these younger, more junior people that they don't even know what they're missing. And so we're trying to create that now. So yes, people are going back to the office. Some are going kicking and screaming, but most people are very excited to go back into an office space. And I personally spend, at least a quarter of my time in Los Angeles. I'm based here in San Francisco, so that I can be present, so that I can be there and meet people. And we're doing team events and lunches. And I'm just going back to the basis of, let me get to know you. What makes you tick? What do you like to do? Do you like working here? And how can we, fuel your career with what people do better when they like what they do and who they do it with?
I couldn't have said it better myself. You talk about technologies and looking for new technologies, and we've talked about this before on the show. The shiny object syndrome. How do you deal with that, and the fact that so many people are coming at you with new technology? You have so much to do. You have a limited budget. What do you do?
That is something I am actually of late really grappling with, because I probably get 100 solicitations a day now on try my product, meet with my agency, I do this thing better. And it's really hard to sift good from bad in a solicitation email. It kind of goes back to, have I known anyone that's worked with you? For me personally, now I've stopped taking all those phone calls and I forward it to one of the directors on my team that technology would support, and I let them vet it. But I have been very clear they don't need to vet everything. They really need to look at the site, look at what they're offering. Is anyone else using this? But it is tricky because there is a lot out there. There is a lot.
There's a lot. And eventually, I imagine you'll figure out a way to use AI in some of the work that you're doing. Probably, one of the things that, many vendors that I've talked to is like, look, AI has its moment because it's getting all this publicity, but so much of the technology that we have on our websites today is already being powered by AI.
Yeah, I'd say ThirdLove, we haven't used a lot of AI. It's on our radar to really think about how we use AI. My 14-year-old son could probably give me a better tutorial, as I caught him writing an essay last night using AI. Oh yeah, I mean, these kids are really smart on the AI, but I read his essay and went, you didn't write that. Fess up.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I think we are eager to try AI particularly in terms of product descriptions on product pages, and, really making them extremely succinct, clear, legible. I think the world is our oyster in that AI. And I do think 5 years from now, a lot of jobs will be different. I don't want to say they'll be replaced, but they will be different. They'll be managing the AI instead of writing the copy as much as they do.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's no question it's coming. It's here, and I've read a lot of stories about just what you said, that there will be jobs. Some will go away, and some will definitely be changed than the structure of them today. The devil is in the details. You probably have heard that phrase time and time again in your professional life. Projects get started with great intentions, but you no longer have the time to pay attention to the little things that could make the difference between success and failure. At Details Interactive, you can discuss your business with a seasoned direct-to-consumer marketing executive who's helped launch and grow web businesses and integrate multi-channel marketing initiatives. Learn more at detailsinteractive.com. As you talk about, some of the work that you're doing or have done, loyalty seems to have played a part in a number of the businesses that you've been involved with. And I've been part of loyalty programs that either I've built or ones that predated me. How do you think about loyalty and, the ability to measure whether or not that loyalty program you have in place is actually doing what it's supposed to?
I am a big proponent of loyalty programs. There's a number of benefits from loyalty program. One of the biggest benefits is the data comes together very nicely. And, it's organized around a customer instead of how we're doing it today if you don't have a loyalty program. And I do think, today it's probably organized in most companies around an email address if they don't have a program. And that works to some extent. I have 3 email addresses. I use them interchangeably. Or shipping addresses if you're a D2C company. It gets very tricky when you have retail stores. We have 10 retail stores at ThirdLove. So how do we match that data back? And I just think it is hard to measure the incrementality, but I do think in the middle of your file. So I don't think they do very much for your super loyal customers. So I'll put that out there right now. I think they're going to be loyal with or without a program, but that's a tiny, small part of your business. I think that middle pack of your customers that, when push comes to shove and they have choice A and B, and A and B look relatively the same, the loyalty program can be that value exchange to get them to choose your product over the other one. And really using the data to be able to market them in a personalized way so that it's relevant and compelling. I think loyalty programs play a huge role in that.
My wife will be on the lookout for the ThirdLove program for sure.
The next generation, I think they're really into loyalty programs. So even more so than our generation.
Think about that. Maybe I'll dig on that a bit. When I was at Steve Madden, and I've been gone 5 years from there, and I spent 7 years there. We built a loyalty program, very millennial customer, and at least at the time. And one of the things that we did in building the program, it was less about thinking that we were going to generate incrementality. I mean, we wanted incrementality, but it was about a data capture so that we could enhance our marketing capability. But in a bunch of the research that we did, we found that the people that were our customers, it wasn't just about rewards and points. They were interested in experiences and other types of things beyond the rewards. What do you think about that?
I think that particularly this next generation experiences are key. We're seeing it even right now in consumer spend, right? They're spending on travel and experiences and in-person, classes or things like that. I think it's harder on the retailer side to create a really compelling experience unless you have something that lends really well to it. So I'll give you the example that's like one of my favorite examples in experiential retailing that does a great job of creating experiences. And it's the American Girl doll. If you've ever been in any of those stores.
Yes, I've been there.
You're bringing the doll to the flipping hospital and getting her ears pierced. And I mean, it is, I don't want to say a racket because it's not, it's brilliant. But you walk out of there and you're like, wow, I spent $300 and got a tiny little dress for the doll. But she's gotten her nails done, sat with me at a very expensive lunch of mac and cheese. And, I think they do a really good job on the experience side. I think in the intimate side, there are some experiences we haven't tapped into them as much as we can, but it's a matter of what does the consumer want on the experience side in a very intimate experience in general, right? So putting on undergarments, and we have yet to crack that nut.
So you spent a good part of your career with PYT Beauty. So what was the void in the market that you saw, and what kind of was the reason for your foray into that area?
Yeah, we really saw this void in clean beauty that was both affordable and efficacious. And at the time, 6, 7 years ago, when the idea was kicking around, 6, 7 years ago now, that didn't exist. And the big companies weren't getting behind it, nor were the big retailers, because don't bite the hand that feeds you. And I think we saw this market opportunity to fill that place. And, that still has been where we are positioned. I'd say, COVID was not friendly to makeup. And so it was a very, very tough 18 months, 2 years before, unless you had skincare, it was extremely friendly too. Everyone wanted to do their own face treatments. Makeup was a little different. You weren't going out, you weren't putting on makeup. And, so it was a tough couple years. And I think over those 3 years, just with people being so conscious of germs and chemicals and other things, the big companies really all got behind clean beauty. And now it's extremely crowded, and it's hard to compete as a small business against these, I will call them behemoths of makeup, because they have a lot of money to throw around.
And so what's the status of PYT today?
To be determined.
Okay, got it. Well, you're busy with ThirdLove, so I understand. One of the things I wanted to talk about, and it was a little bit, we kind of touched on it when we were talking about back to work and working from home, about communication, and how you view yourself as a communicator, and how you working with more junior people in your team, you help them along in becoming better communicators.
Communication skills are critical to being effective in a position, in a job, in a career. I very much worry about the younger generation missing out on some of these key communication skills because they only text, or they put together a story on Snapchat, and that's their way of communicating to their friends what they're up to. I really find the one-on-one experiences with people and really developing, like I said, these close relationships, helping them find their voice, bringing them to meetings that perhaps they weren't invited to, getting the chance to speak up. I never like to present anything. I always want to push it down and have my team present something, whatever work they did. And I think it's really critical to giving junior people that opportunity to really practice, both in the written communication, which, has turned into basically PowerPoint junkies or slides junkies here at ThirdLove, and then in the oral communication, which I hope does not get lost in the next generation.
You've worked in a couple of different types of companies. The Gap, for the most part, I guess maybe all was private label and selling the Gap brand. And I think ThirdLove is, the Gap brand, and PYT was. And there was time at Sephora, right? I didn't make that up.
Correct. Yes, I was at Sephora for a couple years.
Right. And so Sephora is selling other people's product, other brands' products as well. How do you think about the difference between, being a marketer where you're selling private label, your own brand, versus, a combination of your own brand and others?
Retailers hold a lot of power, especially big ones, in how they communicate other people's brands and what they do and how they can make you successful. We have a lot more creative freedom inside a brand like ThirdLove or The Gap, where we're selling our own product, because it's only us to decide how we go to market with that. When you're at a Sephora or a bigger company that sells other people's products, it's a collaboration with the brand and you. And, I think that's slightly harder. If you have a path and their path is different, it's hard sometimes to bring that together without just being the bully in the room and saying, no, this is how we're going to do it. And I think it's a balance, but it is definitely different and harder. I've been a brand in a big retailer. I've been a big retailer with the brands, and then I've done these private label things. And it is clear to me that the big retailer has most of the power.
Right. And how do you think about wholesale? So if you're the retailer and let's say you have a private label brand and we'll call it ThirdLove for a second, but I don't want you to say anything that you can't say. If you're ThirdLove, and you're selling direct to consumer through, through the web and through stores, is there a place for a brand like that in wholesale as well?
Absolutely, because you're never going to reach everyone in the direct to consumer. And I do think of late, customers are coming back and shopping in stores. So you mentioned we have 10 stores, which are very exciting for us because you can touch and feel the product in real life. But we're also looking to say, where else could we put our product where we know our customer is? There's some great examples of game companies starting in Starbucks, right? Because Cranium, I think, is the business case that was talked about many years ago. But where can we be the Cranium in Starbucks? Like, where are our customers? What other retailers make sense, even if they seem kind of left of center? I also think, one of the big changes over the last 10 years is Amazon, and we can't ignore it anymore. And it is a giant retail behemoth, and every product company out there has to think about how they're going to be on Amazon, because everyone's customer is for sure shopping on Amazon. And to some extent, if you're not on it, they're selling that word, that, ThirdLove bra, they're selling that to someone else that is there. And people like to shop on Amazon. It's free shipping and it shows up tomorrow. We can't, as direct to consumer companies, beat that. That shipping is it would bankrupt most D2C companies.
Yeah, for sure. Couldn't agree with you more on that. I think the Amazon trucks here daily for sure. We are getting down to the final few minutes of our show. This has been really interesting. I've enjoyed talking to you. I do this 2-minute drill at the end of the show. 7 questions, 1-word answers. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. A brand that you admire or that inspires you?
In the apparel space, I love Veronica Beard.
Okay. Favorite app on your phone?
Contacts.
Last website other than Amazon that you shopped from?
I bought stuff at Alice and Olivia the other day, which is another apparel company.
Something that you're not good at but wish that you were?
Prioritization. Sometimes it becomes very hard because I do think of myself as like lots of capacity, but I need to get better at saying no.
Charitable organization that you're passionate about?
Extremely passionate about my father's organization, American Farmland Trust.
And if you had one superpower, what would it be?
To not be able to sleep.
Well, I guess that's a superpower of mine because I don't sleep anymore. So
Yes. If I didn't sleep, I could do so much more.
yeah, absolutely. Other than family, what's your most prized possession?
Probably my house, because it is my place that I feel super secure and very comfortable.
Okay. Where can people reach out to you on social media, Amy?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Amy R.G. Carr, as in Renee Grassi Carr. I'm also on LinkedIn under Amy Carr.
Okay, great. And we'll be looking for ThirdLove. I'm sure my wife's going to drag me into the store the next time we get into Boca. We'll have to see where else you have a store in the New Jersey area. It was really nice to talk to you. Wish you good luck, and I hope business will continue to be well for you.
Thank you. It was nice speaking with you.
That's it. Today's game ball goes to Amy Carr for coming on the Marketing Playbook. To me, today's 3 game-winning marketing strategies were as follows. Number 1, do not underestimate the power of having regular conversations with non-competitive companies about your business. Even if you sell lingerie and the other guys sell hard goods, there's so much that you can learn from one another. Build and maintain a network of go-to people. It will serve you well in your career. And number 2, many businesses are getting back to the office. While work from home has served us all well in many cases, companies want to get people back to the office, even if on a hybrid basis. As Amy mentioned, bringing people back to the office allows for decisions to be made faster and also allows for better work outcomes. Even if your business does not have mandatory office time, especially if you're early in your career, get back to the office and interact with your colleagues. You'll be better for it in the long term. And number 3, I love the few comments that Amy made about direct mail. You have to touch it to throw it away, and there's a 3-second arc to the trash. Direct mail definitely plays a role in today's marketing environment, regardless of the age of your customer. Think about how it fits into your media mix. Thank you, Playbook marketers, for listening to another episode. If you want to check out more pages of the Marketing Playbook, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast spot and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, the devil is in the details.